call this meeting to order. If you would follow along with the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by an invocation from Ted Martin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, Mayor and Board, guests. I'd like for all of us to just take a moment of silence before we pray for City employee Kirby Dieterman, who is our stormwater coordinator in the engineering department for the past 7 years, passed away on January 30th of natural causes at his home. So if you would, just take a moment of silence with that. Father, we welcome you into these chambers tonight and bring the agenda in front of you that as discussions are had and decisions are made, that we do all that to honor and glorify you. Father, tonight we recognize a lot of city employees from the Parks Department and the Police Department, thankful for their work and the work of all the city staff here that take care of our residents, our businesses, and our guests. Father, again, we invite you in here into the chambers. We're thankful for our board, for their time and their service as well. And we love you and praise you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Madam Clerk, can we get a roll call, please?
Fenton.
Here.
Denham. Here. Cooper.
Here.
Milton.
Here.
Rodriguez.
Here.
Howden.
Here.
LeBlanc.
Here.
Your Honor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Alderman Rodriguez, would you please present the Employee of the Month Award, please? He's presenting it to Alex Castor, Austin Mendoza, and Amber Edie in the Police Department. Are they here? Come on down.
On behalf of the Mayor, Board of Aldermen, City Administrator, and City staff, it is my honor to announce Police Officer Alex Castor, Austin Mendoza, and Amber Edie as the City of Branson's February 2023 Special Commendation Employees of the Month. This award recognizes employees who have encountered life-saving and particularly dangerous situations. These three were dispatched to a car crash on October and found the driver unresponsive, not breathing, and had no pulse. The driver also had a lit cigarette in his hand, and there was a large amount of gasoline spilling all around the vehicle. These three were first on the scene and quickly put out the cigarette, dragged the patient away from the vehicle, and started chest compressions. This person is now going to make a full recovery due to their quick thinking. They also prevented multiple injuries to first responders and bystanders by identifying the cigarette and putting it out before it caused an explosion. Congratulations, and keep up the good work. Wow.
If you'd like to share a few words. Amber.
When the chief says, come here, you gotta go.
I am extremely proud of these folks. On a daily basis, they're out there, as we know, still shorthanded, and they're responding, and they're taking risks. They're using their training, and very proud of them for being there and being team players and helping people that they quite honestly don't even know. So I just want you guys to take a look at them, and these are some younger officers, newer to us, but they're out there saving lives and doing exactly what we need of them. So I just want to thank them and tell them how proud we are of them.
Yeah. Thank you again. Next, we have Alderman Howden will present Jim Cartwright, Richard Wink, and Max Whitworth of the Parks and Rec Department. Are they here? Come on down. Kathy, these both say they're for February. I'm assuming one was January? Yeah, one was January, one February.
Wow, I didn't even recognize you.
Very nice.
One was special commendation, right? Okay. On behalf of the mayor, board of aldermen, city administrator, and city staff, it is my honor to announce Parks and Recreation employees Jim Cartwright, Richard Wink, and Max Whitworth as the City of Branson's February 2023 Service and Excellence Employees of the Month. This award recognizes employees who have gone above and beyond and whose performance exemplifies the City of Branson's values. These three recently made improvements to the HR and IT suite in City Hall, which included installing new carpet, painting, and building a new office. They went above and beyond to get this challenging task done with minimal disruption and with maximum effectiveness. They did a fantastic job of seeing a need and being proactive to get it done in an efficient manner. Congratulations, and keep up the great work.
Look how wide his forehead is. You gotta,
Anything you want to say?
oh, yeah, come on, Jim, talk to us.
There you go.
I just appreciate my wife for coming out on Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day.
Aw.
Other than that, that's about it. Thank you.
Mayor, can I say something real quick about Jim? I was at the Recplex about a year or so ago. My kids play ball, and I'd ran into him in the hall, him and another worker, and I was like, how's it going? Oh, just did this and that, and they took me back to this utility closet and told me about this big something that, I don't even remember what it was. Maybe they was pouring a concrete pad or they'd done all this work, and he had talked about, I said, you guys do all that? He goes, well, when you're short-handed, you just make it work. And we had talked for about 30 minutes, and I said, man, that probably saved the city thousands of dollars by you guys just taking the initiative and doing that. And he goes, hey, we're here to do what we need to do. But he was so excited about the work that they had done, and it wasn't even really their position to do it. And I just remember when I saw him tonight, reminded me of the conversation we had in that utility closet at the not that we hang out in the utility closet a lot, but Jim and I was pretty close. Yeah. But I just thought it was very cool that they took so much pride, and they were so proud of the work that they did for the city. So congratulations, all three of you.
Thank you, guys.
I thought you were going to give a shout out to your wife, too. Yeah.
Yeah, I wish she was here to support me on Valentine's Day.
Where's my wife? Oh, she's not here either.
She's listening at home, I guarantee you.
I have a proclamation to read, and it reads, whereas the Ronald McDonald Houses provide a home away from home and comfort for families and children who must travel for medical care. And whereas the two Ronald McDonald Houses located in Springfield, Missouri, allow their guests to maintain close contact with their seriously ill children by providing a secure and supportive environment at no required cost. And whereas the Ronald McDonald House near Cox South and the house at Mercy Kids have served the needs of 817 Taney County families, 366 of which are Branson, Missouri residents. Whereas on Tuesday, January 24th, 2023, 69 McDonald's restaurants and various other locations began showing their support by asking customers to share their heart by donating to the Ronald McDonald House Charities of the Ozarks through the Share a Heart campaign. And whereas McDonald's of Branson is a participant in the Share a Heart campaign, which will continue through February 28th. Now therefore, I, Larry Milton, Mayor of the City of Branson, Missouri, do hereby proclaim February 13th through February 19th as the Ronald McDonald House Week in Branson, Missouri.
Mayor,
Yes.
over here, sorry. Kim Booth is actually in the audience to accept the proclamation for the Ronald McDonald House.
I'd just like to say thank you to the city of Branson for all your support. This is our biggest fundraiser of the year for our 2 Ronald McDonald houses in Springfield, and we could not do it without the support of our community. So all the Branson McDonald's are participating, so if you want to stop by and help us out, that'd be awesome. Thank you, guys.
And is Gilbert Garcia in the house? Hello, Gilbert. How are you? Gilbert is here to receive our You've Been Caught Doing Something Good award. And on behalf of the mayor, the Board of Aldermen, city administrator, and city staff, it is my honor to announce Gilbert Garcia as this month's You've Been Caught Doing Something Good award. This award is to positively recognize Branson citizens and community members who make our community a great place to live, work, and play. Mr. Garcia is receiving this award because of his efforts to reinvest in our community by hiring local employees who have fallen on hard times. He owns Z Handyman Service and goes out of his way to employ people who are going through rehab and are on the brink of being homeless. He goes out of his way to teach them specific skills that they can use to get back on their feet. The person who nominated him called him a true leader who loves his community and gives many people a second chance at life. Congratulations, and keep making Branson proud.
Keep bringing the work, and I'll keep putting the guys to work.
Now we're into the public comment section of this Board of Aldermen meeting. At this time, we will hear citizens who have signed up in the order they were listed to address items specifically affecting Branson, Missouri. Madam Clerk, do we have any speakers?
Your Honor, our first speaker is Douglas Rimmel, 217 Veterans Boulevard, speaking on homelessness.
Welcome, Douglas.
I haven't prepared anything, but I just wanted to come in to relay anything that I felt strong in. Myself is homeless, and about 5 months ago is when it wasn't my choice, but it became after my mother passed away, and things were taken out of her possession and my possession, and I found the streets the only place to sleep. I look at House of Hope as a place that helps and provides great opportunity for people who are homeless. But recently, the weather has been getting cold. It goes up and down in Missouri. I'm from Wisconsin. And maybe myself can be used to it, but many are cold when it hits any temperatures below 50 degrees. Last week, it hit 34 degrees. Myself was out there just freezing cold and shivering and just praying to God that why isn't there a place that I can sleep? House of Hope has 33 beds that are ready and using when it only gets below 32. And it has to be by 3 in the morning. So I look at it as maybe an opportunity that the council or the board could maybe reconsider that temperature and maybe raise it up a little bit next year when winter comes. Because I've been out there and I went from the 106 degrees to the 0 degrees. And it's very difficult. I got bronchitis, I have a lung disorder, I have asthma, and I do whatever is told to do. And I follow all laws. I don't drink, I don't smoke, and I'm doing everything to get out of homelessness. So, thank you.
Douglas, thank you. Chief Smith, would you mind coming up? So for situations like this, I know Douglas's request was adjusting the temperatures requirements. Do you have any input on?
The input is that House of Hope, actually, they decide when they want to be open and so forth. To my understanding, we don't subsidize it or do anything where we would have decision-making ability over that. So since they are kind of privately funded, they decide when they can staff it and everything else. The bigger problem, this gentleman will recognize me, I spent a couple days helping him to get off of the streets, and yet he's back there. So there is more to this, and I would like to see our investment in more of a homeless outreach committee. You and I have talked about this, but people that can help when the resources that we have aren't necessarily exactly what they need, that we do identify those resources and we do have those volunteers from the community that can help, because the police department itself is not going to be able to continue to do the work we need to help get a long-lasting impact. So we can certainly reach out to House of Hope and say, hey, are you guys able to staff at these lower temperatures and so forth, but we don't necessarily have any say in that matter.
Sure.
Okay?
Chief, thanks for helping out. Thank you for sharing, Douglas.
Mr. Mayor, I think from the House of Hope's perspective, the criticism of them was that they were going to become like a shelter, you know. So that threshold was that they were trying to meet that. So I don't know, it almost might be a Michael Woods question. I think they put in their special use permit 32, so it would have to be an amendment for them. I don't think it's just arbitrary that they can say, we're going to be open this night. I think they do have the staffing and the volunteers. It's just a matter of putting that in or getting that addendum basically made.
Staff to, even if it was the last minute decision where the temperature went lower than they thought it would. And there's always food provided. There's always restaurants in town that'll provide that so we don't go hungry, for the night. What Tracy, who runs House of Hope, and a wonderful lady, and works so hard, out of her time, pretty much 24 hours to provide that. And she spent money out of her own pocket to get pillows and blankets and everything. And she said that stated that it'd have to be 32 degrees by 3 o'clock in the morning. And they look at the temperature by KY3 out of Branson, and they follow that each day, but that they were enforced to stick with that. But she wanted to be able to offer it even at a higher temperature.
Thank you. So is that something the board can take action on?
I don't know, just because it's in their special use permit,
Yeah,
basically.
we'll get with
Yeah.
Kathy on that. Thank you again for sharing, Douglas. Madam Clerk?
Your Honor, the next speaker is Ricky Zaitz, 3000 Green Mountain, speaking on health.
First of all, I was in the trenches with you guys when we were liberating the city. And I'm so glad it's liberated. It's really wonderful. Thank you for all that you did. Doctor, you made a great statement about the effects of the jab and the mask. And everyone here, I commend you for what you did. We were offered a special session regarding how we can inform the public in regards to the effects of the vaccination, which is a lethal vaccination to many people. And even in Thailand, the princess that got her booster shot immediately died. We've seen a lot of deaths. I've seen a lot of my friends pass away. And we're providing information. And really, that's all I want. I'm not getting involved in, I don't believe in a 2030. That's a ridiculous scenario. We want to keep this place free. This is a Christian town. It has Christian ethics. And, you know, it tells us that really the future, there was a prophet saying, well, what is the future going to be? And he said, well, it's up to us. Okay? If you want to, I'm not going to tell you what's going to happen, because if it's real simple that it's, you know, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and I will forgive their sins and heal the land. So I'm praying for y'all. I just want to let you know. You're in my prayers. I do pray for the city. I'm not here agitating. I'm not interested in that. But our website, nomorejab.wordpress.com, has comprehensive information from many specialists. Simon Gold, 55,000 pages on the effects of what this lethal injection contents, unknown to many people who have been coerced and even lost jobs. Many terrible things had occurred. And so my heart is only for the pregnant women that should not get the jab. I talked to a doctor. He says, I won't jab pregnant women and children. They said they were under 12, you didn't have to do this. So really all I'm asking is that y'all fulfill your promise to us who are really moved by what we see, that we would have a special session where we could address it and see what we can do and only be an information source. So you can make up your minds. You can get qualified information. There was a judge in Texas. They wanted him to silence it for 50 years, all the data he had. He says, no, I'm not going to do that. We have 55,000 pages of data on the effects. So I'm here on behalf of the pregnant women, the children, the elderly that can be coerced into situations. And, you know, I was going to say, you know, I didn't want to get carried away. I might incriminate myself. I just wanted to be nice today. And you know, it is a day of love. So why don't we show love? I told you you should run. I'm standing with you, okay? I just want to let you know. I don't turn on my friends. And I love all of you. And thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you, Ricky.
Question? What is it?
I'm sorry, we can't get into questions and answers during public comment. Sorry. Madam Clerk?
Our next speaker is Deanna Slatton, 187 Lone Pine, Branson, Missouri, speaking on health safety issues.
This is to inform you that you've all been served. Serving the City of Branson Alderman, Mayor, and City Administrator, and Police Chief. During our Branson Alderman meetings, public comment section, we the people that attended these meetings have information that would help the public, and we would like for that information to be able to be brought forward. Also, during all of this, we have had information deleted from public meetings on online information at the public meeting that's on record. It's been removed. That's not cool. Also, Branson, Missouri is the entertainment capital of the world. This is a place where people like to come and be safe. And we are going to make sure that this place is safe. And I'm taking this out of your hand and putting it into the people's hand. You will have no problem in doing that. You can actually do that, Mayor. You cannot, I know you say you don't want to tell people what to do, but you can tell them what not to do. And that's what we're going to help you do here today. Okay. If you look on the back page, this is the letter of intent. This is to the City of Branson, dated February 14, 2023. Reference public official bond, number 107715254. Kathy Strepp, City of Branson, City Administrator. Issued by Robert Brim at 108 Twisting Trail Lane, Branson, Missouri, 65616. The following activities are occurring in our community in Branson, Missouri, and the county of Taney County, Missouri. And I am requiring immediate actions to stop all COVID-19 actions and activities, related activities as well, followed by a full investigation into these activities. These are the specific items that are unacceptable and are to be stopped and addressed immediately inside the city limits of Branson, Missouri. Number one, the promotion and sale of injecting of COVID-19 products and related activities. COVID-19 public health emergency declared pursuant to Section 319 of Public Health Services Act. This act makes it unlawful in Section 5 of Federal Trade Commission Act for any person, partnership, or corporation to engage in a deceptive act of practice or in affecting commerce associated with the treatment, cure, prevention, mitigation, and or diagnosis of COVID-19 or government benefit related to COVID-19. The Act provides that such a violation shall be treated as a violation of rule defining an unfair or deceptive act of practice prescribed under Section 18 of the FTC Act. Violations include the COVID-19 Consumer Protection Act of 2021 Consolidated Appropriations Act, Section 802 of the Patriot Act. Number two, businesses inside the city of Branson, USA are offering COVID-19 products and services that are harming and killing American citizens and have been issued Branson businesses license without the full disclosure of harmful side effects, including death, or that this is an experimental drug program to the recipients of the products. Violations include Biological Weapons, Anti-Terrorism Act of 1989. All 10 Nuremberg trial codes. All 10. The City of Branson Police Chief Eric Schmidt is not allowing charges to be filed for fraud and for criminal violations and is not communicating any further by phone call or email about conducting or investing in an investigation.
30 seconds.
Information is provided on this pamphlet. The violation is failure to uphold their oath of office and delaying and interfering with an investigation. The acceptable resolutions are, you will see them. Immediate cease and desist on all COVID-19 products and procedures and related activities. Immediate temporary suspension of all business inside City of Branson business license holders that do not comply with the cease and desist order. Immediate investigation of Branson Police Chief Eric Schmidt of individual of the business, and the charges have been requested to be filed on December 19, 2022. Do you have any questions? Anybody?
Hearing no questions, Deanna, thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, do we have any other speakers?
Our next speaker is Alex McCauley, 200 Box Elder Lane, Forsyth, Missouri, speaking on simple solutions for big local issues.
Hello, and thank you again for being patient enough to hear us people whose businesses are affected by Branson policy. Well, I'm Alexander McCauley. As you know, I'm just outside of Forsyth, inside the county. And I do, my base for my business is in just outside the county in Forsyth. But I do most of my business in Branson. What we see right now is we're in the middle of one of the biggest terrorist attacks that has been perpetrated against the American people since, well, 9/11 or 2021, 2001. And it originated in 2018 when a huge amount of terrorists were elected to our National Congress. And the thing is, I was contracted to build a website to chronicle the unvarnished truth about this terrorist attack. It is nomorejab.wordpress.com. I'm going to be updating it to have the websites for getting many things that you can actually terminate the effects of the lethal injection. Dr. Brian Artis has actually shown that when the vaccine, the injection...
Excuse me a second, Alex. Excuse me a second.
Oh, by the way, I'm going to terminate that right now because I know that it's probably going to get whacked on YouTube. So what I'm saying is we got before we terminate businesses or business licenses that are offering jabs, what we need to do is make sure that the people that are employed by those businesses know that they could become independent contractors and start practicing from their studies, their spare rooms, and offer the same legitimate health care from their residences so that we can get a hold on this. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, any other speakers?
Our next speaker is Cherry Webster, 118 Country Bluff Drive, speaking on city personnel.
Hello, Cherry.
Good evening and happy Valentine's Day. My name is Cherry Lassiter. I live at 118 Country Bluff Drive. A month and 2 snows ago, the Branson Tri Lakes News quoted an alderman's perspective on personnel changes in City Hall. Quote, damaging results, multiple terminations, early retirement of key city staff, complete erosion of trust under the current city administrator, the hiring process for this administrator forced through by the current mayor, breaking the tie with 3 aldermen, end quote. Really? Blaming it on the new kid on the block? It's inappropriate to put personnel issues solely on Kathy Stepp's plate. I see this much differently. The quoted words in their sentiments are those of 3 naysayers who voted against the administrator's hiring. The damaging results I see are the grudges being held because they didn't get what they wanted last October. The motion to remove the administrator looks more like a severe case of sour grapes. And how is it that the mayor forced a vote when, according to the city's municipal code, Article 2, Division 2, Section 2-77, titled Method of Voting, breaking a tie is a codified role the mayor plays. It's his job to break ties. I see people come and people go for many reasons. Some make the ultimate departure and move to heaven. We're glad for them, but they are so missed. Some have priorities like spending time with a spouse, grandchildren, even fishing. When their priorities align with the magic numbers of age and years of service, they take early retirement. Again, we're glad for them, but they will be missed. Some depart because of bad choices, such as violating oaths of office, city ordinances, and state statutes, and illegally zoning property, granting extended annexation hearings and fee waivers to favor developers. Those choices generated numerous departures via the ballot box, several resignations, and an early retirement. That's called good riddance. Oh, and while those folks were making bad choices, another made a good choice, resulting in a promotion from alderman to mayor. Some people are terminated. I'm not privy to all the personnel issues at City Hall, but the highest level terminations I've observed were done by the former city clerk in her position as acting city administrator, months before Kathy Stepp arrived on the scene. Given the past culture of favoritism at City Hall versus the new leadership's attitude of public servanthood, transparency, and accountability, more departures might occur. That's called cleaning house. It's not unwarranted. In this city, it has been long overdue. Here's what I know about Administrator Stepp. She listens, and she gives guidance to address problems. Given her expertise with the EPA and the Wisconsin DNR, and before she was even appointed to the Planning Commission, Kathy Stepp met with several residents in Country Bluff to assess the neighboring developer's intentional omission of adequate stormwater detention on his property and the resulting downstream flooding. At the February 2022 Planning Commission hearing, she demonstrated great empathy for a resident who sought a special use permit for only 1 year because of a COVID economy and a major health issue. Very articulately, she explained how she struggled to come to her decision, and in so doing demonstrated excellent communication and reasoning skills. Laying everything out like that goes a long way in building trust with people. Between this past Christmas and New Year, when I went to check my mail one day, I encountered a city staff member who was inspecting something at the Country Bluff clubhouse and swimming pool area where the mailboxes are located. I stopped to get that person's temperature on the new city administrator. With a straight face, I said, "I'm hearing that the staff at City Hall are liking Kathy Stepp." The employee
30
paused and
seconds.
looked at me rather quizzically, then said, "Well, yeah, what's not to like?" That brought big smiles to both of us. Know this, naysayers and yaysayers. Kathy Stepp is well liked. Work with her. Use your monthly one-on-one alderman sessions with her to work out your grievances. You'll find she's quite delightful. Mayor Milton, thank you for public comments.
Thank you, Jerry. Madam Clerk?
Your Honor, our next speaker is Gary Groman, 350 South Wildwood Drive, Branson, speaking on treat our city administrator with the respect she deserves.
She's a hard act to follow. A recent article written by Jason Wirt in the Branson Tri-Lakes News about the retirement of 13-year Branson city employee Keith Francis, Branson's Director of Public Works, said, quote, "Francis addressed the impression among some in the community of the upheaval at City Hall and department heads being frustrated with the new city leadership as a driving force for retirements or people leaving city jobs. What could cause that impression regarding a city administrator that the board hired less than 4 months before? Might someone have gotten that impression from the board's January 10th, 2023 executive session? An impression perceived not only by what the board did, but more importantly, how they did it. During this infamous session, the board asked the city attorney and Administrator Stepp to leave the room. After that, specific allegations against Stepp were discussed and a vote taken to terminate her. All this without allowing her to hear the allegations, let alone respond to them. In my opinion, that's not either fair or honorable. Mr. Chairman, understanding that they do not have to respond under paragraph 2-70C of the Branson Municipal Code, I request permission to ask the board the following question. Would any of you who think that the way things were done at the January 10th executive session was fair and honorable, please raise your hand and tell us why?
Gary, you know that you can ask the board questions, and it is their prerogative whether they would choose to answer or not.
Yes. Would any of you who think that the way things were done at that January 10th executive session was fair and honorable, please raise your hand and tell us why? Thank you. In response to a question asking him why he voted to terminate staff, Alderman Rodriguez said, "Speaking for myself, I have witnessed multiple terminations, the early retirement of key employees, and a complete erosion of trust under the current city administrator." Really? Alderman Rodriguez must have witnessed something different from what Keith Francis has seen in his day-to-day dealings with the city staff and administrative step. Francis said, quote, "The change in city leadership has absolutely nothing at all to do with my retirement." I want to keep that straight because this is political season. "I have heard rumors that on the street, the aldermen, I feel, I have a good relationship with them, with the mayor, and with our new city administrator. The city of Branson is going in a positive direction. Kathy has been wonderful, absolutely great. I have no qualms about Kathy in any way, shape, form, or fashion. She's been very supportive of all the staff here, not only the directors, but other staff as well. Absolutely great to work with and great to work with us if we have budget questions and new projects, which would be different but make things better around here. She's always after more positive input, what we can do, what we see needs to be done and changed to make things better for people. Based on what I know, I believe that Keith's description of how things have been done under Administrator Stepp is accurate. Obviously, that puts the basis for Alderman Rodriguez's statement in question. Accordingly, Mr. Chairman, understanding that he does not have to respond under paragraph 2-70C of the Branson Municipal Code, I request permission to ask Alderman Rodriguez the following question. Given the comments of Mr. Francis, what specific facts can you share with us supporting your statement that there's a, quote, complete erosion of trust under the current city administrator, end quote?
You're allowed to ask any question. It's up to the Board of Aldermen to respond.
Alderman Rodriguez, given the comments by Mr. Francis, what specific facts can you share with us supporting your statement that there's a, quote, complete erosion of trust under the current city administrator, end quote? Let the record show there was no comment. I understand that the three of you are upset by how the process of selecting the new city administrator went, but that's not Kathy Stepp's fault. All she did was apply for the position. The process is over. The board gave her the job, and whether you liked it or not, that's what happened. In my opinion, she's entitled to this board's full support in trying to make Branson even better for its staff, residents, businesses, and visitors. My prayer is that you will give her that support. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Madam Clerk.
Our final speaker is Cindy Mary, 67 Melody Manor Lane, Reed Spring, speaking on marketing.
Hi, everybody. I wanted to start out and just thank you all for having the study session today, examining the marketing plan and the budget, because I think it's wonderful that we're seeing the city take an interest in how our tax dollars are being used for marketing. And just a few comments on some of the discussion. I would like to address Ozark Mountain Christmas. I firmly believe that we ought to be marketing Ozark Mountain Christmas year-round, just like we are going to do with the veterans, because people are seeking Christmas travel plans year-round. So, secondly, I want to address linear television. Linear television is still a vital part of our marketing plan. In particular, groups which are vital to Branson, a lot of the people that watch linear television are the people that get on those motor coaches. And so if we choose to not use traditional television, a lot of those folks who are older and empty nesters aren't really being addressed or seeing us. Secondly, currently, our television buys are spot market buys, which means they're in the same markets over and over and over again. We're not in Texas, we're not in Florida, we're not national. And so a lot of the people that get on those buses aren't seeing any ads about Branson. And the last thing I think we talked about, there was a discussion about the retail tax versus the city tourism tax. And the one thing I want to point out is, like theaters, we pay both taxes. We pay the 4% for the city on our tickets. We pay the 1% retail on all our gift shop, all our concessions. So this, in the sense of the businesses inside the city limits of Branson, we're the attractions, the theaters, the lodging, we're paying to both. So I feel like that when that discussion's being had all the time about percentages, what we really ought to be talking about is what drives people to come to Branson, right? And everybody benefits the more visitors that we get to Branson. So we ought to be, in a marketing term, saying logically, not necessarily the percentage of money, but what gets them into the city limits of Branson. And we know from research, the #1 driver of visitors coming to Branson is our theaters. And when you were talking about a special campaign, creative ads, I think we ought to take a look at doing a very focused music show, theater campaign to attract the customers that are interested in coming to Branson. And I think we ought to look at a big picture of making it a national campaign so that we can go after people that want to get on motor coaches, but also want to drive here and see our shows, spend the night, eat at the restaurants, et cetera, et cetera. So that's just some of my thoughts.
Thank you, Cindy.
Yes, thank you.
Cindy, could I ask just real quickly?
Yes.
Could you just touch on the goals discussion very quickly?
Oh, well, I think there's a little confusion on the addendum for the marketing for the city. To me, the city's marketing plan ought to have a goal that says, what are we trying to achieve with our tourism tax dollars? Well, #1, we're trying to increase our revenues by X percentage. I mean, that ought to be the overwhelming goal. Then under that, how are we going to get there? How are we going to do that? That becomes where we say, okay, we're going to make Branson a multi-season national vacation destination. Okay, how do we do that? Then you have your strategies and your tactics, Ozark Mountain Christmas, veterans, et cetera, et cetera. And in a plan, all of that should be laid out and then tied back to the budget. How does that budget reinforce what that plan's doing? And so that's my opinion. Thank you.
You good? Thank you, Cindy. Madam Clerk, that's it?
Mr. Mayor, before we move on, can I ask Mr. Groman a question? Am I able
Absolutely.
to go back to him? Sure. You want to come up? I'll give you the same opportunity you gave me. Sorry to make you come back.
No, it's okay.
During your comment, you mentioned that we're upset or bitter because we didn't get our way, I think was sort of how it was phrased. Are you the oldseagull@gmail.com? Is that your email?
Yeah, that would be me.
Okay. Can I ask you about an email you sent on July 19th, 2022, and give you
Sure.
a chance to respond? Okay.
Sure.
And I'll read it here. This is from the oldseagull@gmail.com. I received information from what I believe is a reliable source that it is the intent of the mayor and some board members to select Kathy Stepp as Branson's next city administrator without going through the search procedure they had previously endorsed. If my information is correct, and I believe it's close, the vote will be 3-3 with the mayor breaking the tie. For what it matters, what candidate worth their salt would even accept a position under that type of vote? What kind of elected officials would even offer someone a job under those conditions? If you proceed in this manner, I believe it will create one of the worst divisions within our city that I have ever witnessed and will virtually paralyze it until another election and things shift. I do not know her and have never met her. She might be the greatest thing since the blueberry cake donut, but why are we not following the normal process and selecting the person for a position that is so important to our city? I'll skip the next part. Our focus should be on finding the very best candidate for the job. Comparing her qualification on the fly against the last couple of city administrators is a low bar of comparison. Don't we, the citizens and businesses of Branson, deserve the best person available to run our city? I would suggest that experience in government and governing a city is equally or more important than her Branson experience. Then you proceed to link us an article. Please don't do it. We deserve better than this. Signed, Gary J. Groman, AKA the Old Seagull. So my question for you is, you've accused us of being bitter and taking that vote because we didn't get our way. So what's changed for you from July 19th to tonight?
Well, as some of you know, I react a lot by emotion. And when I first heard that, I had not met Kathy Stepp. And by the way, I have met her. I met her pretty soon after I sent that out, because one of the aldermen suggested that I might want to get together and talk with her personally. Quite frankly, in my opinion, I think what she's accomplished here in the last 4 months speaks for itself. I'd like to say I am always right. I'd like to say I wish I couldn't get some of my words back, but that would be a lie. After meeting her, she's the Boston cream donut. I mean, she's much better than much better than the blueberry cake donut. I met her and believed she could do the job. She was just very impressive. She had a personality and a way about her that really hit my heart, that she could unite different factions of the city, get us together, and move forward. And I know that some of you, she didn't have these degrees. Well, quite frankly, I quit high school. I was a dummy because from the 4th grade till I joined the Marine Corps, I thought I didn't even have average intelligence. I switched from a school that had where you printed in the 3rd grade to the 4th grade where all you could do was write cursive. And from that day until I went in the Marine Corps, I thought I was below average. I found I might still be below average, but I found out that with my general intelligence test that I was a tad above average. When I went to law school, I had to take a general law school exam. Well, got out of the Marine Corps, and you asked, I'm telling you, I got to get it back now. Got out of the Marine Corps and went to work as a Treasury agent. And I was on the governor's bodyguard detail in the '68 convention, if some of you can remember that far back. But I decided I wanted to go to law school, so I went to the dean of law at DePaul University in Chicago, and he said, "Look, you don't have time to take the law school entrance exam, but if you take it, we'll let you in. But if you take it in April and you don't pass, you're out." Well, to make a long story short, I took it, and at the beginning of the next semester, Dean Remidi wanted me in his office. He said, "Well, I've got some bad news for you, and I've got some good news." I said, "Well, give me the bad news first. You missed the law school entrance exam by 3 points. But you're on the dean's list, so I can't kick you out. I'm not going to kick you out." Now, that's why I don't have a lot of faith in this education and stuff. I got a JD in law, and look at me, here I am making a fool of myself in front of you guys. But yes, I wrote that, and at the time I wrote it, I believed it. But I never get in a situation where I will not analyze facts and change my mind and admit when I was wrong. At the end of the day, a process was followed. Now, some of you might not like the process that was followed, but it was followed. Now, 3 of you voted against her, and you can say, well, I didn't vote for her. No, you did. This board voted for her. This board presented her a job offer that she took. It was the board that did it. And why would you not give her every chance and opportunity to succeed? I have never seen a city administrator treated like that lady's been treated since she came here, and that's shameful. And I will compare my Gmail, and I'll admit I was wrong. Will you admit that you were wrong in the way that meeting was conducted? Will you extend me that courtesy?
What I'll say is, and I appreciate you coming back up, I have a lot of respect for you. I'm not trying to be confrontational.
No, I understand.
But
I mean, you've got every right to.
I do take exception when you say I did it out of a grudge, because I think my answer to you is there's a lot of factors and a lot of things that happened that day. And I think from what I've heard from yourself and Cherry, you don't have all the information, and you may not ever have all the information, because we can't divulge all that information.
I believe
but there's a lot more to that situation than it's just a grudge vote. So that's my answer to you.
In the beginning, I talked about strictly that meeting, and I'm talking just that meeting. Was the way that meeting was conducted honorable in your way? Like asking her to leave, not letting her be there to hear the allegations and
But
vote?
that's my point. You don't have all the facts on that, and you're assuming that one of us asked her to leave. That's your assumption, and I'm telling you that assumption's wrong. It was not anybody sitting up here that asked her to leave. So your assumption and your fact as you're presenting it is 100% wrong, and anybody that was at that meeting will back me up on that.
Administrator Depp, were you at that meeting?
I was, until I was asked to leave the meeting, along with our attorney.
Along with your attorney? Okay, now, that's all I can go, I mean, there you got it. I mean, I don't know how to handle any difference. I'm old and 82 and I can't remember my address, but I mean, come on, guys. And what I said regarding, I understand that 3 of you were upset by how the process of selecting the city administrator went. I didn't say anything derogatory about you, said you were upset. And I think the facts show that you were absolutely upset by the way the process went. Would you debate that? But the process is over. I mean, the board took an action. Why can we not work together to enable her to do her job, better serve you, the city staff, and the employees? All I've heard is good things. I mean, you folks must have a different pipeline. Things might be different over the cigar store, I guess. I don't know. Is that got you through?
Yeah, thanks.
Alderman Rodriguez, you want to get me while I'm up here? Bless your heart.
Thank you, Gary. Cody, you good? Now, where was?
On the consent agenda are as follows: approval of the Board of Aldermen minutes for the January 10th, 2023 study session, January 10th, 2023 regular meeting, and January 13th, 2023 special meeting. Acknowledge receipt of Advisory Park Board minutes for the November 15th, 2022 meeting. Acknowledgement of disbursements for November 18th, 2022 through January 13th, 2023. And final reading of Bill Number 6257, an ordinance approving the amendment and renewal of contract for management services with ASM Global for the operation, promotion, marketing and promotion of the Branson Convention Center, and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract. Your Honor, that concludes the reading of the consent agenda. The floor is open for a motion approving all items on the consent agenda.
Hold on, we're in the middle of a vote. Okay, let us finish this vote. I don't think it's up on their screen to vote. Chad?
I have a motion. I was waiting for a second. Is there?
Oh, how did Ralph do that? It's not coming up on their screens.
Can somebody verbally second? Second. Oh, there, I have Alderman Fenton.
Oh.
Or, yeah,
Okay.
we'll fix
They had
it.
to refresh. After the refresh, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, oops, let's vote.
The result of the vote is 6-0.
Thank you. And Deanna, when we're in this meeting, we need to have these discussions either before the meeting or during public comment. Yes, thank you. Those that were listening, Deanna was asking how to get an item on the agenda, and just get with the city clerk or the city administrator. Thank you.
Your Honor, the next item is a presentation by Sam Boysen on the 2022 Year-End Convention Center Report.
Hello, Sam.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Thank you for the time today, and Chad, we're active on this. I want to introduce, before I get started on this recap of last year, I want to introduce Craig Liston, if you could stand up. Craig is our Regional Vice President for ASM Global Corporate, and he is in today to say hello as well as represent ASM Global. Jordan Canifax is our Director of Sales and Events and has been doing a wonderful job. Thank you very much. And thank you all for your support that's been ongoing for this year. And, you know, I come quarterly to give you updates of the convention center, and I say every time, I say, you know, sometimes I might bring you some bad news, and sometimes I'll bring you some good news. Well, tonight I'm going to bring you some fabulous news. And I just don't want you to get too used to the fabulous news, because it is an incredible historic announcement that I'm about to make here.
There you go.
Here are some of the highlights that we've had as a recap of last year over at the Branson Convention Center. And I know this is a collage of pictures, but it shows just how busy we were. We have been the busiest last year, and we are anticipating even a busier year this year. But you can see up in the top left corner, that's the Conklin Convention, which we just completed this past couple of weeks ago. And these fireworks here, Kristi Noem, the governor, was there at this setting. So you can see her. She's actually right out the picture on the right there. From the Black Tie Gala that some of you attended, it was a huge success. Women of Joy, the World Championship Cornhole Tournament was right here in Branson, Missouri, and we held it as well. And that was broadcast in many countries as well, so that was very exciting. MONASP, that's the Missouri Archery Tournament for local high schools, I say statewide high schools, and of course, the ever successful great event from Jim Cox, the Branson Car Auction. He does such a wonderful job at this event. It is a world-class event on the level of Barrett Jackson here in Branson. So congratulations to him. The historic announcement that I wanted to tell you is that the convention center made money this go-around. Thank you. Well, thank you. And that is contributed to the team that we have over at the center. They've worked their hearts out. We have been as busy as ever. And we all know that convention centers are built for economic impact. It is built for the greater good of the community and not necessarily the financials for the building itself. And I'll go over some of that economic impact very shortly, but here's, as I say before, you know, here's where the rubber meets the road. These are the numbers. So we submit a budget every August or September the previous year for the following year, and when we did that, we had no idea that we would do this well. We've really tightened our belts on expenses, and we've also hit the streets with our marketing incentives and our partners at the Chamber and the Hiltons as well to really increase the revenue, top line revenue. So you can see from this chart here, $587,000 better than the bottom line budget that we submitted. So over $500,000 bottom line better. If you look at revenue, top line revenue, we're 1.3 million better than we thought we would be. That is incredible. That's historic. Expenses will grow as you get more events, of course, where, the lights are on longer, the air is on longer, et cetera. So our expenses were higher, but nowhere near what the revenue was, and that's exactly where we want to be. So almost every meeting, I do explain what governmental accounting is versus performance accounting. So governmental accounting takes the marketing incentive of $500,000 that we get annually, that we use as a war chest and help market Branson, as of course the convention center, and help underwrite business. That is listed in the expenses. At the bottom where it says performance accounting, it is not listed in the expenses because it's not a true expense, it is a pass-through. It's a reimbursement. So governmental accounting does have to account it this way. So if you were to look at our performance, which you just, thank you very much for a very positive vote a while ago on the consent agenda to renew our agreement. We're very excited about that. If you look at our performance accounting, we actually made $610,000 to the bottom line. That is incredible. I know of no convention center in the Midwest that does that, especially in the Southeast. So those marketing incentives, those dollars, they're being used correctly. And it's not just about advertising, it's about cutting a great deal for a great economic impact trade-off. So it's working. You saw this last meeting. This is the chart, but I had to add to it because I'm so excited. In the yellow highlight there is 110,000, almost 111,000 to the good, not deficit, for 22. So that makes that chart deficit go way down. So we have now broken the ceiling, as they say, on the deficit. So we are below the line. That's where you want to be. Thank you. So moving on from there, here's some of our customer service scores. And, this is, the repeat clients is what keeps us going. So you can see they're all 90% or better, and that's where we want to be in your key performance indicators of different areas for sales and events, job knowledge, of course, our courtesy of the entire building staff, the cleanliness of the facility, food and beverage services, which are, I can tell you, second to none. We just finished 1,700 people plated 4-star meal with a lot of DC representatives coming in, a lot of high-end type of representatives that go all over the world and eat at high-end restaurants, and they said, wow, Branson is awesome. You can't buy that kind of publicity. Here's the economic impact. So you just saw the numbers, the event activity, but now here's the calculation of all of that. So we're looking at $78 million, actually more, 78,554 of economic impact. That's direct and indirect. That's the economic impact calculator that we're all used to. And you can see the 110,000, almost 111,000 is added to that. We have 183,000 estimated room nights booked annually for last year. That's incredible. Jobs supported, 22,000 jobs. That's an incredible ecosystem of economic impact generated by your facility here that we're very proud to manage on your behalf. This is the calculation that I always put in the meeting presentation just to remind you of how this is done. It's not sorcery. This is math. And you can see lodging to shopping to recreational to everything else. Restaurants, in a major conventions in town because it is very difficult to get a restaurant reservation whenever we have a very large convention in town. I just want to update you on some of the completed 22 projects that were very important to us and you as well in priority 1. And there's the list there. Security camera upgrade completed, audio system upgrade completed, variable frequency drives on our chillers, which allows us to dial back the chillers a little bit, give a little bit more efficiency in our utilities. Replace the stairs in the south garage. They look wonderful. Please feel free to do your steps over there if you'd like. We just had a data and phone server look. Chad's helped us out with that as far as computer servers are concerned. And a lot of the sky bridge and stairwell fencing was replaced also. And here's the graphical representation of that, all completed all on time, and a lot were under budget. So that's very important as well. There's the step unit. That was a very interesting project. That's an overlay. It looks brand new. It's a brief presentation, but I also wanted to just thank you for your ongoing support. It means a lot. I thank you for understanding how important this convention center is, and thank you for putting your trust in our company and our team here to actually run this for you. Thank you.
Sam, that sounded like a good report, but there were 2 items on those capital repairs that weren't done.
Which one was that?
I am just kidding.
Which one? Okay.
There was a boiler for 8,000 or something. That is just an absolute phenomenal report. Jason, I trust this will be front page, top of page news. So, to summarize what I just heard, convention centers nationwide are primarily loss leaders, right? It's a convention center that loses money, but it brings in enough people that spend money in the town that helps increase taxes. That's the business model of a convention center. And what we just heard, which I thought I would never hear the words, and I wonder how many people have ever heard the words, their convention center, which is a loss leader, made money. That's just incredible. You're very well deserving. This board was honored to renew the contract, and why wouldn't we, right? I see somebody vote against that. Any aldermen want to share any thoughts?
Mayor, I wanted to speak to that boiler, and this actually speaks to your leadership, because when we walked through there, you toured me through there, you told me a little bit of story about the boiler situation and just the collaboration that you have, because the Hilton is different than the convention center. And could you just kind of speak to that? Because I thought that was very interesting how you handled that. And again, it just speaks to the leadership and your ability to manage this facility in the way that you do, because you're always looking not just what's in front of you, but you're looking in the corners and you're making adjustments along the way. And I thought that was very impressive.
Absolutely, and I do appreciate that, Alderman. You know, when we toured the facility, you know, there's a lot of capital improvements that do need to be looked at. However, being creative is the number one thing that you have to be whenever you are operating a facility, and being creative with your partner, that which is the Hilton. And, you know, that entity focuses on hotel rooms, and rightfully so. We focus on space, and we work together hand in hand. However, we have different interests that benefit different entities, and our operation benefits the city of Branson. And we put that first, and anytime that we can get creative and not spend a whole lot of money and have a workaround, then we will always look at that if it's a viable workaround. And we did so. And we saved the city quite a bit of money being creative. And so I believe that relationships are key, but creativity is key as well. And I do appreciate you.
And it was a win-win on both sides, too.
Always a win-win. Yes, sir.
So thank you.
And when Sam says he saved the city money, what you're actually doing is you're saving our taxpayers' money.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Marshall?
So, you know, it's funny because we would see that number going down, but, you know, you always think it's like an asymptote, which will get closer and closer to zero, but never break it, you know? And even during, we said that we could have possibly made a profit during the COVID year, but until you actually see it, you don't believe it necessarily. Right. So that's so tremendous. You know, that's your accomplishment right there. And we'll go above and beyond, and I know you'll continue to do this. So here's my question, and I'm not asking you to go get above your skis or anything, because like I said, you've already achieved so much. Now, do you see that growing? Is there a point where maybe we generate 100, you know, whatever, and then we put it back into marketing, or we, you know, how does that go? Are you seeing a projection of a growth in that, or we could continue to make some good money with this, or how do you see that going forward?
It's always great when we can stand here and say that this facility in operation made money when most do not. And I don't ever want to set the expectation that it is going to make money every year, because there's a lot of things out of our control, the environment, the economics of it, et cetera. Can it be better? Anything can be better. We want to make sure that it would be in our control for it to be better. And, you know, I think the economic impact really is the priority, because making either 110 or 610, depending on how you look at it, is a drop in the bucket compared to the $78 million of return that you get. So to answer your question, I would focus on the economic impact instead of the bottom line every year, because that is what grows the pie for entire city of Branson.
Very, very well said. That's $78 million economic impact. That's $78 million that was spent in our lodging, our retail, our attractions, our theaters. That money was spent in our businesses, right? That's where the real gain is here. And I know we've started the process, this board approved, to do a feasibility study to do more of this. So let's do more of this, right?
Larger facility means more events, means more economic impact. Let's do it.
We're excited. Sam, thank you so, so much.
Thank you very much.
You should be proud.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sam.
Wow. Who's next? Who wants to follow that?
Your Honor, the next item is a resolution authorizing the filing of an application with the Missouri Department of Natural Resources along with the Missouri Trails Advisory Board pertaining to improvements for the Waterfall Trail parking area. The floor is open for a motion adopting this resolution.
We have a motion and a second. We'll get a staff report from Cindy.
Mr. Mayor, members of the board, so this resolution is the City of Branson has the opportunity to apply for a recreation trails grant, so that's what this is about, and it provides matching grants to local and state governments for trails and trail facilities. This resolution authorizes the filing of an application which is required by DNR, the resolution, and all necessary paperwork with Missouri Department of Natural Resources. The grant will be used for construction of a new parking lot for designated parking for the Waterfall Trail, which is over by Westgate Resort. If you all have, I'm sure everyone here has hiked that. And wayfinding signage will be part of it too. So the city will fund this project using designated funds available in the unencumbered reserves in the Parks Fund. So staff recommends approval of the bill. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Cindy. Are there any questions from anybody in the audience? Any questions, comments from members of the board? Hearing none, let's vote.
The result of the vote is 6-0. Motion carries.
Thank you, Cindy.
Your Honor, this is the first reading of Bill Number 6258, an ordinance amending Section 2-362 of the Branson Municipal Code pertaining to the sale and disposition of personal property. The floor is open for a motion to approve the first reading of Bill Number 6258.
We have a motion and a second. We'll get a staff report from Ben Hart. Hello, Ben.
It is great to be back. Mother Nature can't keep me back this time. As the board knows, we promised to bring efficiency to you guys. And as these code changes need to come about, we're going to put it in front of you. This is one of them. In the past, in order to dispose of any kind of equipment or anything of value at all, we need to bring it back to the board if it was in excess of $1,500. In this case, that limit goes to $5,000. It allows Kathy then to sign off on anything that we need to dispose. The procedures haven't changed. We still take the highest bidder, et cetera. One of the bigger changes here is the disposition of no value items. You got 30 three-legged chairs, you're going to hang on to 30 three-legged chairs until you can get it through the board. This actually changes that to where the department directors can go, there's no value here, trash it. We're going to go and clean this stuff up on a more efficient process. Bottom line, that's what this does.
Any questions from anybody in the audience? Questions, comments from the board? Yep.
So could there be a scenario where three-legged chairs could be used for
Three-legged people.
philanthropic reasons, and that director could have the purview to then say, and we want to actually donate it to something specific.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. That would be the very first thought you'd have, is there somebody that can take this that has value in it? But if it's a typewriter that doesn't work, then nobody's going to want it, kind of thing. Yeah, it's more of a logical process than it is, it's just obvious that something's not working. A busted monitor, it's just nobody's going to use it. Yeah. That's a good question, though.
Any other questions? Hearing none, let's vote.
The result of the vote is 6-0, motion carries. Your Honor, this is the first reading of Bill Number 6259, an ordinance amending the adopted 2022 budget for the City of Branson, Missouri to adjust monies in the Parks Internal Service Fund for an increase in vehicles. The floor is open for a motion to approve the first reading of Bill Number 6259.
We have a motion and a second, and we'll get a staff report from Ben.
During the budget process, I mentioned, just as a reminder, I mentioned that we'd come back to you with either cleanup budget amendments or rollover budget amendments. Half this agenda is mine through cleanup amendments. We'll start the new budget amendments the next round. This is one of them. The project, none of these are new items. None of these are new asks at all. What this is really doing is satisfying that the auditors have the documents they need and the approvals they need for the capital equipment that's been purchased. In this case, it was a trash truck that was bought. Originally, it was supposed to be bought out of the general fund. It was moved over to the internal service fund, which, hooray that we had that money over there, and we'll continue to do that. This just establishes that authority from the general fund over there to the internal service fund. It's not new at all.
Anybody in the audience have any questions, comments? Members of the board? Hearing none, let's vote.
The result of the vote is 6-0, motion carries.
Clay, this sounds like the meeting you ran.
Your Honor, this is the first reading of Bill Number 6260, an ordinance amending the adopted 2022 budget for the City of Branson, Missouri to adjust monies in police safety internal service funds for an increase in capital projects. The floor is open for a motion to approve the first reading of Bill Number 6260.
We have a motion and a second. We get a staff report from Ben.
I think the finance word for this one is ditto.
Same questions from the audience? Same questions from the board? Hearing none, let's vote.
The result of the vote is 6-0, motion carries. Your Honor, this is the first reading of Bill Number 6261, an ordinance amending the adopted 2022 budget for the City of Branson, Missouri to adjust monies in the 76 SID Fund for an increase in infrastructure. The floor is open for a motion to approve the first reading of Bill Number 6261.
We have a motion and a second. We'll get a staff report from Ben.
This authorizes the encumbrance that's already been made. It's the budget authority for the segments 1 and 2 of the design and architecture that's already taken place, or that's on its way. This is actually a really good one.
We're approving something that's already been done?
It's already been done, yeah, right. I wish it was done.
Any questions from anybody in the audience? Members of the board? Hearing none, let's vote.
The result of the vote is 6-0, motion carries.
Jim, you're not charging us for this portion of the meeting, are you?
Your Honor, this is the first reading of Bill Number 6262, an ordinance amending the adopted 2022 budget for the City of Branson, Missouri to adjust monies in the Capital Projects Fund for an increase in infrastructure. The floor is open for a motion to approve the first reading of Bill Number 6262.
Motion is second. Story from Ben.
So in this case, it's, I've got to put my accounting hat on. We approve of the purchase of the White House, now Police Department building, and that budget authority was all done, cleaned up. This actually allows us to move that over to where it needs to be for the auditor's sake. It's 140, it's a capital improvements fund. That's all this does. It just transfers it over to where we need to put it.
Any questions from anybody in the audience? Questions from the board? Hearing none, let's vote.
Result of the vote is 6-0. Motion carries. Your Honor, this is the first reading of Bill Number 6263, an ordinance amending the adopted 2023 budget for the City of Branson, Missouri to adjust monies and various funds for an increase in capital projects. The floor is open for a motion to approve the first reading of Bill Number 6263.
Have a motion and a second. Staff report from Ben.
So this is capital projects. Capital projects are usually approved as a project. Oftentimes, that project is put in 1 year, knowing full well it's going to take multiple years to make it happen. What this does is allow us to roll that money over, put it in '23, and keep going. And that's all this is doing. There's actually a little summary there of what the line items are. Fairly sizable water sewer projects, but that's all this is, just cleaning that up as well.
Any questions from the audience? Mooney? No? Any questions from the members of the board? Hearing none, let's vote.
The result of the vote is 6-0. Motion carries. Your Honor, this is the first reading of Bill Number 6264, an ordinance amending the adopted 2023 budget for the City of Branson, Missouri to adjust monies in the Transportation Fund to increase the street maintenance supplies account. The floor is open for a motion to approve the first reading of Bill Number 6264.
We have a motion and a second. We'll get a staff report from Ben.
Same thing. This moves money from 22 over to 23 to continue street maintenance. And Keith's put this one through, but I'm not going to make the retired guy get up and talk.
Keith. Any questions from Keith or anybody else in the audience? Questions from the board? Hearing none, let's vote.
The result of the vote is 6-0. Motion carries.
That's all of mine. Thank you.
Ben, while you're up there, can I ask you a couple questions? You mind?
Sure. Absolutely.
I recently visited the Boys and Girls Club,
Yeah.
and I know we used to give money to them in the past, and the Tanning County Library and others. I'm not sure when that stopped, but can we look into that? Like, I know
Absolutely.
the Boys and Girls Club is starting to take 5-year-olds now.
Yeah.
It's a good program, and I think we should really look into giving them money, and I know the Tanning County Library is struggling a little bit.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely. In the past, it was, if I remember correctly, it was 25 grand out of the general fund that was set aside, and then there was a committee around how that gets allocated, but the board had set aside 25,000. To my knowledge, that hasn't been pulled out of the budget. It's been left in there unallocated just because of 2020 and 2021, the unknown, how far is the dip going to go? So it just wasn't put in place anymore. That is absolutely something that could be brought
Yep.
back if that board wants to do that.
So check out, Ted Martin, he really headed up this. It was,
There he is.
so I know one year we had a budget of 65,000. I believe we increased it to
100,000 at one point.
We made it 100,000. We didn't allocate, we didn't distribute all that money. But that's something we did prior to COVID. We stopped, and I think that's an excellent idea. And Ted, if you would take a few minutes and share with us what the process was.
Historically, that program was designed to fund two different types of programs. The first one was the arts, and originally, $25,000 of that budget every year went to the Arts Council, the Branson Regional Arts Council. And then the rest of the money was done towards special emergency services like Salvation Army for sheltering, trying to think of others that were in there, CAM for emergency vehicle repairs, and the list goes on. That number was whittled down over the years as budgets became tight, and we needed to do internal operations funded as well. And then when COVID came around, it became very evident that to be successful as a city, we had to make cuts to keep our operations solid. And so that's where that came in, is we were don't laugh at me using this term, some of you've heard it. It really kept us mission-focused where the taxpayers' monies were being used in a government operation and not being totally passed forward to not-for-profits. It's still available to do that, but we will make sure we're providing excellent services in all the departments first.
So the question was, these are taxpayer dollars. These are, obviously, that we have many, many needs in our community. So first question is, how do we feel as stewards of our taxpayer dollars of allocating money to those different services? And then it gets into, okay, how many services, how much money, and who's going to receive the money? Long meetings?
And to that point, I would say that within that budget, we really streamlined into emergency services. For example, the police department spends a lot of time helping ladies, for example, get to the Women's Crisis Center. That's 2 o'clock in the morning or 11 o'clock at night where there's been a violent issue or a home issue. So there is some connectivity to services, or by having the Salvation Army funding that we were able to do emergency housing for the example we had earlier tonight. We find somebody, the police department or the firefighters find somebody on the street at 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning, and we can get them into emergency sheltering. So I would say there were some programs that did kind of benefit our resources here, but we really streamlined it hard over the last couple of years.
Yeah. Ted, you would agree that this should be a study session?
Yeah, I believe at this point, as we look towards budget for FY 23 or 4, or 24 rather, it'd be a good topic later this year.
Thank you very much. Chuck, thanks for bringing that up. Thank you.
Thank you, Ted.
Your Honor, this is the first reading of Bill number 6265, an ordinance amending the 2023 pay matrix and pay guidelines for the City of Branson, Missouri employees. The floor is open for a motion to approve the first reading of Bill number 6265.
A motion is second, and who is this at the podium? We'll get a staff report from Kimberly Cooper.
We had some of these positions, we had tried to include most of the positions in our budget book at the end of the year during the budgeting season, but there was a couple that we had missed for various reasons. These are just basically a cleanup of that. We're just trying to get the pay bands approved for these positions.
Is there any questions from anybody in the audience? Questions or comments from the board?
Can you give us a breakdown of what those positions are that we're changing?
Yes, there's an administrative specialist position. We actually had office specialist positions in the budget matrix already, so this is kind of a comparison for that.
This was, Kimberly, if I understood right, these were in the budget, there's a few of them, you just changed the name?
Yes, like this position was a reclassified position. Basically, the name had changed and they had increased responsibilities for that one. The accounting manager it's in the budget. We are trying to work with Ben on coming up with a more sustainable solution of having boots on the ground in that department. So we needed to have that added, and I think Ben might be able to speak to how that was budgeted a little bit more. Did you want?
Yeah, so I know I'm great, but Kathy and the staff deserve to have somebody, to have somebody on the ground on a full-time basis here, to be able to attend meetings and continue to do that. It does a couple things. One, eventually we will go away. It allows us to work with somebody to mentor them, to bring them right on up the food chain and work with department directors and continue to push things through and actually do what the city needs to be done and move that along. The first shot across the bow is accounting manager. That doesn't work. We're going to be thinking about that tomorrow. I think Kathy, I got a meeting with her and Kimberly, separate meetings that we're going to be looking at that. But that was put in the budget.
Thank you, Ben. Yeah. Probably don't want to go far.
And then this third position was communications director. I think it was in the budget, correct me if I'm wrong, as a marketing position. And after we were looking at the code book and different things like that, the communications director, that title seemed more fitting and it would go more in line with our code books and different things like that. So we ended up with that job title. And so that's where we're at with these particular positions, but they were all in the budget. It's just we didn't get them in the matrix.
So the communication director, is it actually a marketing position?
Kathy?
Happy to answer. It started out in the budget originally as more of a marketing emphasis. And then after listening to input from all the board and the mayor in my first month coming on board, it was pretty clear that we needed to up our game when it came to communications. And the code book, Lisa actually identified this for me, is that it says that the city shall have a communications director, so this gets us square with what the code book is as well. But there's also some marketing responsibilities and oversight in part of the job description. So we're kind of getting a little bit more bang for the buck, if you will.
Is that a position that our current media gal can handle, or, I mean, is there a reason we need to spend 96 to 145,000 taxpayer dollars for that position?
Well, again, ultimately, I believe certainly it is, or I wouldn't have brought it forward. It's something that I've heard over and over again, that we need a renewed focus on communications, better internal integration with communications, as well as with external parties that we interact with on a regular basis. And it needs to be to the director level. And there's a lot of work that can be done, and I believe a strong partnership would be with our current comms position and then led by a director.
I do know that for the last 10 years that I've been here, communications has been frequently something that's been addressed as a concern. And it's hard for one person to carry out that mission. So I think it would be helpful to have two.
Any other questions from the board?
I got a question.
Yeah.
The administrative specialist, it said, the staff report says, administration specialist position is a promotional position created for a current employee. So I assume that means this position was created for a pay raise?
The employee was doing other duties whenever they first started there, and in the course of time, in the last, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 months, they've had additional responsibilities that justified giving them a different rate of pay based off of the job functions that they were now being tasked to do.
That's going from what to what?
It was an 11C position, and now it's a 19C position. But the job functions have drastically changed. I think Kathy might be able to speak better to that because it's in her department, but.
Yeah, I mean, significantly changed. So this particular staffer, without going too personal, because I don't want to get too far into the weeds here out of respect for the person, but was really tasked with entering things into the Laserfish system and copying newspaper clippings and some basic clerical duties, and then it evolved way before I got here into a lot more responsibilities, just like many positions, frankly, throughout city government. The classifications and the job descriptions haven't kept up with the work that's been getting done on the ground. So this one happens to be in the admin department, but we've had several of these throughout city government where directors have brought to our attention that they didn't have the interaction with HR that they were hoping to have when we were doing these reclassification conversations. And, you know, out of fairness to staff and to the directors, and frankly to me, to run city government, we need to know what's actually the work being done on the ground and make sure people are being compensated appropriately for that work.
Any other questions from anybody on the board? Hearing none, let's vote. Thank you, Kimberly, for that.
The result of the vote is 6-0, motion carries. Your Honor, this is the first reading of Bill Number 6266, an ordinance approving a service agreement with Cody Systems for the Police Department Record Management System and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract. The floor is open for a motion to approve the first reading of Bill Number 6266.
We have a motion and a second. We'll get a staff report from Chief Schmidt.
Yeah, this should be pretty short. This just is, we're on a yearly contract right now with Cody Systems, who is our existing CAD RMS company. And we're doing it year to year because we're probably going to be morphing into a new system here fairly quick. So this just gets us through the year and basically maintains the system that we have with all the records and everything that we've accumulated over the years. So we have to keep it going with them until we do select a new product. And so the staff does recommend its approval.
Any questions, comments from the audience? Questions, comments from the board? Hearing none, let's vote.
The result of the vote is 6-0, motion carries.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Your Honor, this is the first reading of Bill Number 6267, an ordinance amending the 2023 budget for the City of Branson, Missouri to adjust monies in the Parks Fund for additional expenses related to repairs at the Recplex due to damage caused by a broken water line. The floor is open for a motion to approve the first reading of Bill Number 6267.
A motion and a second. We'll get a staff report from Cindy.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, members of the board, so if some of you have been out to the Recplex, we experienced some damage on December 23rd. We had a water line break when that really cold spell happened, so approximately 1 to 1.5 inches of water caused damage to the gym floor, community rooms, hallways, and offices. As a result, the floor buckled and will need to be replaced. Good news, it's being replaced now, which is awesome. In addition, drywall had to be cut out, insulation reinstalled. Emergency spending has been authorized by the city administrator to expedite restoration efforts to reopen portions of the building that are currently shut down. So staff has been working on the insurance company with the claim, and we're expected to be reimbursed for all of our expenses. And we'd like to adjust monies in the capital expenditure line item in the amount of $275,000 that is estimated to cover the expenses. The estimate also includes rental fees that are currently being paid to area gymnasiums, including the Boys and Girls Club, and where we're hosting our league. And again, the insurance is expected to reimburse the city for the expense. And I am asking for a double read, and Ben has requested that. So it's really just upfronting the money that we're expected to be reimbursed this year. So be happy to answer any questions.
Yep. So instead of waiting for the insurance claims to all finish and receive the money and then start the work, because of the scheduling and the number of activities that Cindy has out there, she's asking for the city out of our funds to front that money and then get reimbursed when the insurance claims come through. Ben's good with that. And so I know you're asking for a double read. Let's see if we can get this first one passed.
Okay.
Cindy, wasn't that gym floor, that was
Are there
pretty-
any questions from anybody in the audience? Oh, are there any questions from anybody on the board?
No, I'm good. Wasn't that floor pretty new, the gym floor?
Yeah, so
last
we,
few years?
Yeah, so we had surfaced the floor in
Yeah.
2019. So a gym floor, without boring everybody, you have about 50 years in it. I mean, and you can do 3 sands of that. And so in 2019, we took off some of that because you get down to, you have it build up and build up. So, you know, the guys that were honored tonight, I mean, they work really hard to maintain that floor, and it looked really nice. So it's pretty been devastating to us.
Because I remember not too long ago, y'all took, it was shut down a while.
Just in August.
Redoing it and stuff.
We resurfaced, you know, and you want to build that wax up because the kiddos playing in it, you know, wear that down, you want to maintain it.
That's a bummer.
Yeah.
I'm done, Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to add, because
See what you started?
I know.
Cindy didn't mention it, but I just wanted to say thank you to Cindy and her team, because they saved the city, the citizens, about $7,000, because they removed the damaged portion themselves instead of hiring it out. So thank you, Cindy.
Mr. Mayor. Cindy? Oh, sorry. What was the ultimate verdict on, are we going to get the whole floor replaced, the whole gym floor?
Yes. So when you were out there, we were looking at it, we were kind of debating with the insurance company, but definitely went out in that. And so we were not, like the sanding, if you replace just portion of it, you've already taken off some of the surface of the other, so that was not going to work. So that was not going to work.
Mr. Mayor, one more comment. Since everyone else has been gushing over Cindy, I'd like to just chime in and do the same thing. First off, I just want to say, we all know what an outstanding manager she is of her department on just the regular day-to-day stuff, which is overwhelming sometimes. At least it would be for me, it's not for her. But the other thing I wanted to say is just pulling double, triple duty to be the chief negotiator, well, along with Bob Smither. I don't want to discount Bob's involvement, but, if you ever need anybody to negotiate on your behalf, she's your gal. So she's played hardball with the insurance company, the delays, and, the amount of downtime that we were facing and the fiscal impact that would have been to the city. She and Bob together with their teams have just staved that off. So these are the hidden things that a lot of the citizens of Branson don't get to hear about these stories. So, when you pay your taxes, and nobody likes to pay taxes, but I'll tell you, the taxes would be a whole lot more if it weren't for the workers, the staff here, and the management team at City Hall. Cindy, thank you.
Thank you.
If I started gushing on Cindy, we'd be here all night.
So sweet.
Cindy, you're very, very much appreciated.
Thank you.
Any other comments from the board? Hearing none, let's vote.
Mr. Mayor, I got nothing.
Oh, thank goodness. Let's vote.
Yeah.
The result of the vote is 6-0. Motion carries.
Your Honor, I move to read Bill number 6267 for its final reading due to time.
So we have a motion and a second. Anybody in the audience wishing to speak to this matter? We're not voting on the issue, we're voting to approve a second read. Any questions from the board? Hearing none, let's vote to have a second read.
The result of the vote is 6-0. Motion carries.
So, Madam Clerk, I'm needing you to read this item again, please.
Your Honor, this is the final reading of Bill number 6267, an ordinance amending the 2023 budget for the City of Branson, Missouri to adjust monies in the Parks Fund for additional expenses related to repairs at the Recplex due to the damage caused by a broken water line. The floor is open for motion to approve the final reading of Bill number 6267.
We have a motion and a second. Same report, Cindy?
Yes.
Same questions, audience? Oh, we don't want the same questions from the board. Any new comments or questions from the board? You good, Cody? Okay, let's vote.
The result of the vote is 6-0. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Your Honor, this is the first reading of Bill number 6268, an ordinance approving the contract with Night Heating and Air Conditioning for the HVAC replacement and installation at the Recplex and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract. The floor is open for a motion to approve the first reading of Bill number 6268.
Motion and a second. We'll get a staff report from Cindy.
Mr. Mayor, members of the board, so this has nothing to do with the water damage. This is just a scheduled capital improvement that was approved. Bids were solicited for replacement and installation of a rooftop HVAC unit at the Branson Recplex. 4 bids were received on December 16th, 2022. So you can see the bids there. There are 4 listed. The low bidder was Specialty Air, but then on January, they realized they had made some big errors. I thought we were getting a great deal. That was not the case. So they withdrew their bid, and the next lowest bid is Night Heating and Air. So staff recommends approval of the contract with Night Heating and Air in the amount not to exceed $81,150. The bid met city specifications and again is included in the 2023 capital improvements project. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from members of the audience? Questions from the board? Hearing none, let's vote.
The result of the vote is 6-0. Motion carries. Your Honor, this is the first reading of Bill Number 6269, an ordinance approving the contract with Night Heating and Air Conditioning for HVAC replacement and installation at the community center and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract. The floor is open for a motion to approve the first reading of Bill Number 6269.
We have a motion and a second. Staff report from Cindy.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, members of the board, so this is again another proactive measure. Bids were solicited on the replacement and installation of HVAC units at the community center. Nearly all of these are the original ones from 1991, and increasing maintenance costs has necessitated this. Since 2016, our repair costs have totaled $8,977.51. 4 qualified bids were received on December 15th. Again, you can see those. And again, Specialty Air made a mistake in their bidding, and so they withdrawn their bid. So the next lowest bidder is Night Heating. So staff recommends approval of the contract with Night Heating and Air in the amount of $74,030. And I didn't mention this on the last one, but these units are 24 weeks out. So they have to start building them, 6 months out.
Wow.
So that's why we're coming in February. So
Wow.
be happy to answer any questions. This is, again, part of the capital project budget.
Any questions from the audience? Questions, comments from the board? Hearing none, let's vote. Thank you, Cindy.
The result of the vote is 6-0. Motion carries. Your Honor, this is the first reading of Bill Number 6270, an ordinance approving the second amendment to the agreement with Hofer Welker LLC for professional design services related to Fire Station Number 4 and authorizing the mayor to execute the amendment. The floor is open for a motion to approve the first reading of Bill Number 6270.
We have a motion and a second. We'll get a staff report from Ted.
Good evening, Mayor and the board. The Board of Aldermen have approved a contract with Hofer Welker LLC for professional design services for Fire Station Number 4 with a not-to-exceed amount of $505,000, $500. The design of the fire station was 11,700 square feet originally, with an estimated construction cost at $5 million. 4 bids were received, with the low bid being just under $6 million. Staff took time to meet with the design firm and the lowest responsible bid construction company to seek input on how to reduce the projected cost, with several recommendations provided. Hofer Welker has presented to staff a conceptual drawing reducing the square footage to approximately 9,500 square feet. This also comes with some dramatic changes because of the moving that building slightly and the reduction in size. Excuse me. Find the coal off, sorry. That includes changes in roof lines. Eliminates the meeting room that we had in the building, eliminates a lot of concrete drive and parking spaces, 1 water detention pond, and 2 retaining walls because of the redesign. Staff recommends proceeding with the redesign and amending the contract with Hofer Welker in the amount of $120,500 for a not-to-exceed amount of $626,000. Do know that part of that is for engineering, part of it is for design work, and they are working diligently to meet that bid price. So we recommend that amendment, and Ben Hart says there's money available to do so.
So we're reducing the square footage from 11,000,
700,
so we're taking 2,000 square feet out of the building,
yes. That's primarily the meeting room.
the meeting room.
Originally, we were given the challenge to design that meeting room to be a FEMA-rated shelter. My understanding is to do that, it would have to be substantially bigger to meet the FEMA guidelines for walking distances. So we eliminated that right off the bat and dropped it down to a 25-room meeting space to have something towards the south side of the city. We believe with the partnership with Port Royale, with their clubhouse, when we've talked to the Public Safety Committee, with the addition of the White House Theater now becoming a police station with meeting space there, we can meet that objective and take that space out comfortably. So when we looked at the square footage numbers, just by dropping what the estimated cost per square foot was, we should be I'm hoping, fingers crossed, hitting that $5 million mark, but also by reducing some big ticket items like the detention pond, the retaining walls, the roof lines, changes that made rock removal. A lot of rock removal was estimated in this project. Now by raising that building slightly, changing the grade of the driveway, we're able to actually build it closer to grade. And actually we'll have to have some fill put in and not rock removal. So we're excited to see what they come up with, the final architectural drawings, get those re-reviewed in the planning department, get the bids out, and keep the project moving forward if you approve this bill tonight.
Well, I know there's much urgency to continue moving this forward, and understand you'll be asking for a double read.
Yes, sir.
Assuming it passes the first time.
Yes.
Is there anybody in the audience who wants to talk bad about the fire department station? Come on, I double dog dare you. Any members of the board, you have any questions or comments?
I've got a question, just so I understand the math. So the original budget amount for the building was $5 million. Based on the current design, the projection to build that was $6 million. This amendment, we're going to spend $120,000, we hope. But are we pretty confident when they come back with the redesign, we're actually going to get to that $5 million? My concern is if we spend $120,000 to save $1 million, we're really only saving $880, maybe.
Right. The 125 that we're asking for really is designed for their work that they're doing now to make the amendments to the architectural drawings and the engineering drawings. So we're hoping to still be at that $5 million mark, or be very, very darn close. Everybody was caught off guard with, we know that pre-COVID we estimated $3.5 million based on square footage architecture, the previous architecture sharing with us. COVID happens, and then you know what, everything else is done. I'm more worried about, can I get an air conditioning unit, Cindy, for the fire station in a reasonable time? So we're at the luck of the draw. The architect is designed to do cost estimating, and they were totally blown away by the pricing that came in. That's why we sat down with them. We brought in Keith's team and our team and their team and the lowest bidder and said, what's the big ticket items? It was rock. It was the concrete and the extra room. They just started rattling off things that they thought we could do to save money, so we've taken their advice and tried to move forward with design on that. Sure. I don't want to go on record and say $5 million is a number and come back and ask for another $500,000. I just hope that we are working diligently to hit this target.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. I think where I was going with, I don't want to, it sounds like we're not cutting anything that's needed. No. That's the biggest thing for me is I don't want to spend 120 to maybe save some money, but if we're having to cut stuff that.
The primary space for what the duty crews would use is equal to or greater than what is currently at Station 2 and 3. So operationally, we should be solid with bay space. We've got a clean bay design to meet new NFPA standards. We're hitting all those benchmarks. We've just taken out that meeting space, a lot of concrete drive, a lot of parking spaces. And then, of course, the re-maneuvering or replacement of that building should help with rock as well.
If you tell me that's sufficient, that's good enough for me. So
I'm going to try.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? It's what you want?
Yes, sir.
Let's vote.
The result of the vote is 6-0, motion carries.
Your Honor, I move to read Bill number 6270 for its final reading.
What's the reason?
Because Ted needs to get this stuff done, that's why.
Did you get that, Madam Clerk? Cause is C-U-Z.
Because of Ted. Ted said.
Oh, no, I'm the easy one. It's Dick Gash you got to worry about.
Oh, then we really need to get this done.
That's right.
Yep.
We have a motion and a second to approve a second read. Anybody in the audience have comments, questions? Any board members? Hearing none, let's vote.
The result of the vote is 6-0, motion carries.
Madam Clerk, would you please provide the introduction for this item again, please?
I would be happy to. Your Honor, this is a final reading of Bill number 6270, an ordinance approving the Second Amendment to an agreement with Hofer Welker LLC for professional design services related to Fire Station Number 4 and authorizing the mayor to execute the amendment. The floor is open for a motion to approve the final reading of Bill number 6270.
Is that the correct screen up there? That says first reading.
At the bottom, it says motion to approve
Oh,
finally on the final reading.
Sorry. So we have a motion and a second. Any questions from the audience? Questions, comments from the board? Dick Gass, this vote's for you. Let's vote.
The result of the vote is 6-0, motion carries.
Thank you, Ted. We're at the report section of the meeting. We'll start with Alderman Fenton.
A couple of quick things. First of all, I want to thank all the city staff that worked the last few weeks. I know there was probably some long extra hours there trying to clear those roads. We had some pretty good ice there on that second snow event, so appreciate everybody that did that. I know that's a lot of work that goes into that, so I appreciate that. A few weeks ago, I had the opportunity, along with a few others up here, to attend the annual police banquet. I was honored to attend that. It was a great event and evening. Sam's not here anymore, but the food was great that night, and hearing the stories and the accomplishments of the police department over the past year was just a really cool experience. So appreciate that opportunity and thank you to everybody. And lastly, no offense to the fire department, I apologize. I fully intended to be at your banquet this weekend, but my daughter has a gymnastics meet in St. Louis, so I will be out of town. So if this isn't a blue versus red thing, support you guys as well, but I will not be in attendance for that. And happy Valentine's Day to my wife. Thanks.
Alderman Denham.
I also attended the police banquet. We have an amazing police department. Kudos to everyone for protecting the city. Also, on the 7th of this month, there was a planning and zoning meeting, and we have a second Chick-fil-A coming in. So they requested a special use permit. They had reached out to me prior about a sign concern. I contacted the planning department. They had already taken care of it. Everything is going smoothly. We have a great planning department, great staff, so thank you. And also, I just wanted to add, because this, the Board of Adjustment, like, we don't have any planning meetings. Well, it's slowed down. I'm sure we're no different than the rest of the nation, but kudos to our planning department because we don't have Board of Adjustment meetings. If there's a required variance, then it's important, but that doesn't happen very often. And the other reason that there would be a Board of Adjustment meeting is because a citizen felt uncomfortable with the decision that's been made, and we have not had any Board of Adjustment meetings. So kudos, thank you very much for the planning department that we have here.
Thank you, Ruth. Alderman Cooper.
I really have nothing, Happy Valentine's Day to everyone. I'll forgo my time to Alderman Howden and LeBlanc.
You had a great time in Detroit, though.
Had a great time in Detroit. I missed the policeman thing because I was out of town, and I had rehearsal. I was going to at the fireman's thing, so maybe Ralph could handle that for me.
Alderman Rodriguez.
I, too, went to the police banquet. That was very fun, interesting. I'll be at the fireman's banquet this Saturday. In case nobody can tell by public comments, I am running for mayor. However, when I'm up here on this dais, I am first and foremost an alderman. I'd like to do the seat. So if you come up here and talk in public comment for political reasons, I'm not going to answer you. You have your chance behind closed doors. You can reach out to me. You have my phone number if you want to ask questions. I wish Gary Groman was here because he's had plenty of chances to ask me questions, and he chooses to do it at the dais for political reasons, and I'm not going to play that game up here. That's all I got.
Thanks. Alderman Howden.
I was going through the city's Facebook page for over the last 10 years or whatever, just going through all the pictures. And I'd seen a picture with Cherry Webster that she used to be on the tree board, which I think is just apropos, right? to quote Dr. Seuss, she speaks for the trees, which you seem to be chopping as fast as you please, you know. So, you know, Cherry, I appreciate you. I always do. I do want to address something, though, being that it is Valentine's Day. And I want to say, first off, happy Valentine's Day to my wife. But I want to talk about, and I'm going to steal maybe Ralph's thunder here a little bit, talk about love amongst this kind of group here. You know, before I was an alderman, I was a citizen of Ward 1, and Clay Cooper was my alderman. One of the first things that Clay did when he got up on the board was try to clean up the park that's in our neighborhood, you know. And again, I understand the political thing of where everybody's coming from, and I see you seeing it from the outside, but gosh, it just bums me out when they say, Clay, and you're a naysayer. I don't see you like that. I see you as a public servant who's done a great job, and I appreciate you as a fellow alderman of Ward 1. I get along very well with Chuck and Cody, you know. I don't agree exactly with everything that happened on January 10th. I actually wasn't even here. I was out of the country. But it's a bummer to me that it got to that point again, because it seems sometimes that when we start to get along together, then these things come and then it kind of creates that division again, which I don't even necessarily think is there. Or even citizens who are coming up who, on their own accord, are trying to make political points that they want to make, right? But again, it could create this, and I just hate that, you know, because I don't see us as that. I don't see us as two teams or anything like that. I see us as one board. I respect everybody up here, and I think they have great opinions. And so I think in the theme of today's holiday, that's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well done, Marshall.
Alderman Dr. Dr. Alderman.
So, because of what I do professionally, I get the opportunity to really interact with the public on a big level. Plus, I kind of get out and about and talk to people. And my question of the week was like, hey, what do you see happening at the city? And, the overwhelming response was for public safety. And I want you two guys to take this back to your guys, because of the people that I spoke to, they spoke so highly of the level of professionalism and the level of care that your men took with their loved ones when there were incidences or just things that were happening. I mean, that was a theme that was echoed through the whole entire conversations that I had with people in Ward 3 and around the community. And then the other thing was just how well the roads were taken care of during the ice and snowstorm. I mean, these people, because, I was like a little concerned because, I kind of follow the Facebook thing, and, there were people kind of complaining, and, when you geographically look at where these people are, I mean, they're like in the shade down a hill at the bottom of a ravine. It's like, how do you get there, But overall, the residents of our community were so pleased with how well it was handled and how safe they felt on the road. But overwhelmingly, public safety, they are so satisfied with what you guys are leading and what your guys are executing on the ground out there. And so I wanted to bring that message to you, because I think it's vitally important that you hear it from them, and I'm representing them. So another thing, obviously with Keith's retirement, Mike Wood's moving on up to the 3rd floor, and I know you're a guy that can handle that, and Keith's leaving a legacy here and some big shoes for you to fill. I think eventually you'll be the godfather, but for now he still holds the title. And for all the other staff and department heads, you guys just keep executing, because you guys are making this community just a very shining place upon the hill here, and the people you guys are representing are really happy about that. So thank you all. Happy Valentine's Day. Michael Mooney.
Kathy, nothing? Well, I think Ralph said everything that I was going to say, so I'm going to make mine very short. Leanne, if you're listening, love you very much. Happy Valentine's Day. Hi, Leanne. Next item is to adjourn into executive session, so the floor is open for a motion.
Mayor, I move to go into closed executive session pursuant to 610.021.3 RSMO for personnel.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Yep, let's vote.
The result of the vote is 6-0, motion carries.
Thank you. We'll now entertain a motion to adjourn. We're still doing the board. We have a motion and a second to adjourn. Let's vote.
Aye.
Alderman Rodriguez is a yes. The motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. Meeting's adjourned.
We're all adjourned.